So
Nice.
how are you maneuvering yourself? What are you doing for you and your brand that is maneuvering you into the right places and the right people in the right time?
Man, every day it's a new struggle. You look at each other and you say, who else do we know? Who else can we speak to?
Three. What's up, everybody? We are back again, and this is a follow-up episode. I think this is our first follow-up episode from a previous episode, and I have the pleasure, don't hold me to that, Sage, but just in case it is, we're going to say it is. I have the pleasure of bringing back Sage Del Valle, who we met last year. We interviewed last year for the first time, and Sage we're doing this follow-up because there's some evolution here. Am I right, Sage? We got some evolution.
Yeah. So we changed our name. The first interview, it was F&S Digital, and now we're Different Systems, as you can see in the background here. So that was an exciting rebrand that we took on this year, which hey, every bit as difficult, but not as difficult as running a business day to day, right?
Yeah, but I'm gonna throw it out there right now. You didn't hire Black Ink to rebrand you, so I'm just saying.
No, we overspent, and we didn't get the same quality and results.
Okay, see, so now you learned your lesson.
Oh, absolutely. And my wallet's still feeling it. Don't worry.
Hey, so I see on your building, is that balcony over there? We get a barbecues on that?
Well, actually, the cool thing is this is supposed to be like a sustainable container design, because one of our things is to be a sustainable tech company, which in the center, we hope to have this atrium of entertainment and rentals all along for small businesses that want to start up little breweries and restaurants. So we're hoping to make this a little downtown hub, either here in Atlantic City or somewhere in New Jersey. So we're really excited to begin looking at different land and opportunities.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're doing something anywhere, we'd love to be a part of that and talk to you more about how we integrate that all in with our mission. But we have some stuff, ProcurementCon and Black Ink have some stuff happening in the future next year in Atlantic City. So we should continue to have this conversation off camera. But we're here to interview you. Let's talk about that a little bit. And I know we can be all over the map because you guys have done a lot of different things so far in the last year alone, like rebranding. I know you're working with some new major hitters and whatnot too. Who are some of the major players you guys are working with right now?
Yeah, so it's a little early. This year has been a lot more focused on the brand, but we're bringing on some incredible brands, hopefully in Q1 of 2025. That's going to be huge announcements, partnerships that go deep. And I can allude that they're some of the largest in hospitality, some of the largest in luxury brands. They're the brands that you aspire to go to, and you enjoy their drinks and you enjoy all their offerings all the time. We're in final touches with their conversation, happens to be French, if that helps a little, but
all right. So let me ask you something, and that's going to be a big question a lot of people have to ask, because when they look at this screen, and if they look at the last interview, we talked, and this was like when I talked to you a year ago, we were talking about how you at the time, I guess, what were you, like 20 something years old last year, right?
Yeah, I was 26. Now I'm 27.
26.
Still extremely young for
right. So there's people out there that might have been at this for 3, 5, 10 years, 30s, 40s, whatever, or maybe they're 20 and they're just starting out. And what is it? What was your secret at this young age, at this point, being able to connect with these major players? Because I know some of the other major players you can disclose, if I'm not mistaken, is if you've done work for Hard Rock, right?
Yeah.
That's not a small business.
No, not a small business at all.
So how are you maneuvering yourself? What are you doing for you and your brand that is maneuvering you into the right places and the right people in the right time?
Man, every day it's a new struggle. You look at each other and you say, who else do we know? Who else can we speak to? And that's where we really decide to lean on community. A lot of people, they're so afraid that their partnerships or what they do has the potential to be stolen, or that someone else is going to take their ideas, or anything along those lines, where we look at it and we say, hey, you have this awesome skill, you have this awesome thing that you're building. How can we be involved in that? And sometimes it is just sharing introductions back and forth. Sometimes it's just being that supportive shoulder when things aren't going right and when everything's falling apart in their life, just being that one friend to say like, hey, here's what I can potentially help with in that area. Here's what I can absorb, and creating these very mutual beneficial relationships. So like some of the brands that we've been bringing on, it's been a friend of a friend, and they're in a startup and they're going through struggles, and we're just providing that free advice, providing that free relationship back and forth. And it comes down to they made it now, and now they're bringing you along in that journey. So a lot of people are just so afraid to build that network, give their secret sauce out to everyone, and say, we're in this together. There's plenty of contracts in the world for everyone. There's plenty of brands. And sometimes we're in the same exact sector and industry, and we do the same exact services, but they may specialize or have a special niche that we don't. And that's great. And at the end of the day, I always say the vendors will choose who's right for them. And there's no formula for being the right one for everyone. So if we compete and I lose to something, you win, there shouldn't be bitterness. I should be excited for you, because I know that if something else comes along where you have an opportunity to invite me, there will probably be that, hey, Sage, there's a subbing opportunity here. Hey, Sage, there's an integration opportunity here. And sometimes that never does happen. And it's just, it's a continuous shots game. Francisco, our CTO, always likes to say that it's about sending 1,000 emails a day. That's his mantra. Anytime I'm like, no one's answering, he's like, did you send 1,000? I'm like, well, no. He's like, it's 1,000 emails a day. That's the only way forward.
Right. So, again, what I hear, that I like to call that the collaborative economy. And that's what really, competition is always going to be there. Exactly. But if you're viewing everybody as your competitor, you're down here in your mindset. To me, thinking collaboratively is an elevated mindset. Because everybody's, yes, that it's competition. This is my competitor. The bakery across the street's my competitor because he opened up and he took business away from me. You know what I mean? And I'm angry and screw this BS. I'm going to put that guy out of business. And there's all this cutthroatness to it. And it's always going to be there. You're always going to be in competition with somebody, whether you want to be or not.
Exactly.
You're going to win against them. You're going to lose against them. It's always going to be that case. But being collaborative means that you can elevate yourselves because you're maximizing your pools of resources with each other. You might be in the same workspace as somebody, but you might have the Hard Rock. You might have, Amazon Web Services, or you might have a friend over at CISA, right? Mm-hmm. The Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency, that they don't.
Yeah. Exactly.
And they may very much, and then you could just share that, and that helps elevate your game. So it's nice to see that you have that collaborative mindset, because, my projection for the future is that it's my competitors, quote unquote competitors, are going to actually be the feeders to my events.
We say the same thing. And the craziest part is our clients appreciate being able to have one go-to person that has everyone in that portfolio. Right. So when it's like, hey, do you know someone who does print? You're like, actually, I do, because I have this network of friends and people. Here's who I can trust. And being that go-to person, you're top of mind all the time. And a lot of people who we take contracts from or anything, we'll reach back out to them and we'll be like, hey, I'm so sorry about the loss. Here's what we would like to do with you. You have more experience maybe on the property. Can we use you as a sub, or can we? And sometimes it's met with, no, you stole my contract, go kick rocks. And other times it's like, wow, I've never had anyone do this.
Right. And I think part of that is too, is there was a time when packaged, right? It was packaged, and I think there was, and it's probably before your time or my time, suddenly all these companies had these packages, and it included prints. And what it was bullshit at the end of the day, because when you wanted to sign up for the one service the company offered, you were forced into using these packaged things.
Yeah.
And that pissed a lot of people off. So I think business was lost in that way versus this collaborative economy where we're creating these ecosystems, right? Where it's an ecosystem now. And I don't have to use your printer, Sage. I got my own. And you're like, cool, it's not going to impact my contract with you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think that's where we are, and you're at that, in that right space. But still, what is, I'm dial it back, what is that sweet spot of where you are in a nutshell for these guys, other than being collaborative and networking? We've heard this before, networking.
Yeah.
What does Sage and Francisco, right? His name's Francisco. What does Sage and Francisco do on that basis of you know, I have a saying, closed mouth never gets fed, right?
Yeah.
But what's that? What are you guys doing that somebody in your age demo or so whatever, what are you physically doing other than networking? Like what's something? Give me something that you're doing. Are you digging a hole and trapping folks as they come out of the building? Like, what are you doing?
So one of the biggest things is I like to take people out just to get to know them, period. And that is whether it's coffee, lunches. I like physically meeting people. I will drive hours. And if you know me, I'm always in a car. I'm always in a car going somewhere. And people always ask, well, why are you going to do that? Why are you meeting this person? And I'll meet them wherever's convenient. And at the end of the conversation, they're like, all right, give me the pitch. I'm like, there's no pitch. This all starts with somewhere in our life cycle. So that's what I do to get over there. And I'm like, look, you may move 5 times. You may only be at this company for the next year, 2 months. I don't know what your life's like, but I like learning from everyone. So physically, when I have these conversations, I learn insights. I learn buyer habits, buyer trends, what's happening in your industry, what's a concern in your industry. And maybe that person's not even the person who can make a decision in the organization. I just want to get that insider information so that I can either 1, continue moving forward with it, or 2, quickly know if that industry is not for me. And yet now I have another friend. So now I can be like, hey, what's going on in HR over here? What's happening over here in this regard? So I just like personally hoarding knowledge because I want to know every single segment of every single time. And that knowledge 9 times out of 10 converts to something in the future, generally not with that person, which is crazy. So when people are like, oh, well, you're just using them and you're hoping and you're taking so many bets that they convert, I'm like, actually, no, I'm taking their knowledge. I will meet with someone from X casino that has a PA gaming knowledge. I will meet with them. I won't sell them. But now I'm going to take that information, go to every single other casino. And sometimes they'll be like, why didn't you sell to me? And I'm like, well, I'm building something here with you. I don't want you to feel like I'm using you. And that's a genuine position that I'm taking. And that's just one of the first things that I do is how can I get to know this individual? How can I get to know this industry like the back of my hand? And how can I get it from the people that are in it, not just online, not just here and there. So that's the immediate thing. And I know that still goes back to networking, which is unfortunate, but it's a direct action that I'm doing every single day.
Networking is a thing you do, but it's the actions. People need the understands of how to network, and networking isn't always in that group. I mean, when we met, your 2 good thugs got out of the van, dragged me in, and then, next thing I had a hood over my head, but that was a different time for you.
Yeah, well, we'll carry that one in the back, you're not supposed to say that on these interviews.
So, but yeah, no, it's definitely, we want the minutiae, we want the understanding of what the individual does, because people are tired of hearing networking.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean, and a lot of networking events are really people go in there thinking they're going to sell something. And so they're already going in wrong.
That's the issue, right? We just came back from a conference and it was in Vegas. We're at the conference. We're on the show floor and we're walking around and everyone's just selling. Everyone's selling. And we were talking to some of the booth people. We're like, how you doing? They're like, we're not selling. Right? Because when you're in that mindset that this person's going to sell to me, you're just taking what they have. If it interests you, maybe you'll pay more attention, but you're just going around for the free stuff, especially if a company sent you. And you don't have a direct, like, my job's on the line if I don't find X service by the end of this conference week. Or so for the most part, you're just meeting people and you're collecting free giveaways.
Right.
And then you get home and you throw all those giveaways away and the pieces of paper away, and that organization walks away angry and everything else. But then I met someone from KPMG that was over there, a senior partner. And I asked him, I'm like, well, you guys don't have a booth here. You don't have anything. Like, you don't, he barely even had a little like KPMG pin on his jacket. I was like, so what's this about? I'm confused. And he said the same exact things. He's like, I just find people I find interesting and take them out for dinner. And I was like, what's the criteria there? He's like, interesting people.
Nice.
And he's like, he's like, I have my whole team. I have like 20 to 50 people here, and they're just walking around finding interesting people. And he's like, we're just buying them drinks, lunch, whatever it is. And we hope that interesting person leads us to the next big idea.
Yeah. Do you think like the world has gotten a bit convoluted with marketing and all these techniques? Because I mean, when I think of just meeting interesting people and taking them out for a drink, immediately that sort of 1950s motif of like Mad Men. You remember Mad Men? That comes out where they're gonna just go meet somebody for a drink and that's it. Like there's no hard sales pitch.
Yeah.
Like I feel like marketing and networking has just become so convoluted.
I think so too. And, you know, I hear all these stories because we're heavily in casino because we're in Atlantic City. So I hear all the stories of like the glory days of Atlantic City and the glory days of casino. And you look at the photos and it's all the property presidents on a yacht together, on a boat together, at their favorite charity event together. And you're like, these are all your competitors. And you see them joking with each other, laughing with each other. They're all together in the same room. Try to do that today, where you're trying to get certain people together. It's just, I think we're doing that full circle thing where people wanted the direct ask. And now we're going back to, okay, I'm getting so much direct ask in my email, cold calls, LinkedIn messages. Don't you care about who I am and what my position cares about, my KPIs? I know you're trying to hit your KPIs, but what are mine? And I feel like we're hitting that circle, and it's kind of fun though. It's bringing the love and the life back into sales. And when I talk to SDRs these days, there's kind of a revitalization of excitement to it, because it was just these cold emails and these cold, we're going to do a social media blast and, you know, hopefully we get 10 clicks. But now these SDRs are getting back to, oh yeah, like I'm really good friends with this guy. I'm really like, oh, we decided to get dinner and it was genuine dinner, not this Cisco paid for dinner, or this, you know, X company paid for dinner. So that to me is what I'm excited for, getting back to the genuine connections. Because if we're going to do business together, I'm of that mentality. I want to get to know you. I want to know what your intentions are.
Right.
Maybe I'm a weird outlier in the.
No, I don't think so. I think there's a lot of, you know, I'm never a person that stands on trope. I hate trope. I hate status quo. But there are things in the world that are, sorry about that. There are things in the world that are the tried and true.
Yeah. And
tried and true works. It's called tried and true for that very reason. So I think there's a place for a lot of that old school methodology of just, let's go have a handshake and let's go talk, and I'm not going to sell you anything. And if you like me, you like me. If you don't, you don't. And then maybe somewhere a year from now, 3 years from now, whatever, your card will pop up. I'll remember you. I'll have something you're interested in. So I think that's come back. I think it's never went away. I think people have gotten blinded though by, hey, join my webinar and then come to my webinar and I'll show you the 10 steps of you know, getting 1 million views and converting them all, you know. And I think people have gotten too deep into that with the movement of technology, but bringing that to technology, excuse me. So I'm gonna, you know, I made the assumption everybody knows what Different Systems does and what you do when we started this from the previous interview. But tell me what you got. Let's tell everybody what Different Systems is and what you guys do.
So we are trying to bring back the glory days of technology consulting, where we're not just handing you this 200-page pitch deck of what's out there. And we want to give you solutions that are completely unique and different. And when we say that, we mean it in every regard. So in-house, we have incredible software developers, hardware engineers, cybersecurity experts, cloud engineers. We have everyone in a singular house, designers, some of the best and most creative people in a singular house. And we want to take that normal consultancy, go with a fine-tooth comb through everything in your small business, medium, enterprise, whatever it is, regardless of segment, sector, industry. And we want to figure out what exactly is going on, what's causing that bottleneck, that inefficiency, what's causing that high turnover, having a huge on-ramping for clients. So we've seen everything from, oh, hey, when we fire someone, they still get access to the access control systems. Or, hey, we're trying to make these two softwares talk to each other. And because we have the full in-house team, we're really able to look at it from a 360 approach to say, like, okay, here's what we're going to pitch. I know what our competitors are pitching. They're saying to jam Oracle into it or jam SAP into it. We're going to say we're going to go this approach that has some custom, some off the shelf, some this, some that. And at the end of the day, here's what the solution is. And then here's how your internal team can continue to support it. If they can't, we have a team that can handle it. And we want to make this a really collaborative thing. And a lot of our clients call us the general contractors of technology, because we really come in and we're like, all right, who's here? Who's the VP? Who's the end user? Who's the person that's going to be supporting this? Because we feel like it's an entire company involvement where a lot of times executive decisions come from the top and it trickles down to someone else's problem. We want to do it the other way. We want to get the ground floor workers and trickle it back up so that they're efficient, it works for their process procedures, and the executives are receiving those KPIs. And then one of the things that we do as just to extra add in some aggressiveness, we add a guarantee on it that if we don't hit these agreed metrics, you don't pay for it. Money's refunded, no questions asked, and we will continue to work until everyone's happy, and we have yet to refund anyone's money. So one of the really exciting things.
Is that because you send the two thugs in a white van to drag them out? Is that why you
well, the two thugs help, right? So you do the good cop, bad cop thing where you send the two thugs and you also send a food truck. So they're going to be divided in some line.
Nice. So, let me ask you this too, because again, it's a very broad stroke and a lot of people don't quite understand what a business does, right? So I'm going to create an example. So let's say we have a manufacturer. Let's say they're manufacturing screws that are used for the military. Let's say the Navy's using screws, right? These very specific screws. And let's say that the Navy upgrades some technical stuff on the computer side. And there was always been this handshake between the two, between the manufacturer and between the Navy. But now this upgrade, the manufacturer's shit out of luck. Like, oh my God, this is going to go sideways. What do we do? Are you the person that gets called to create either that custom code or troubleshoot that, or what are you that guy, or you're not that guy?
So we're that person. Sometimes we're that bridge, honestly. A lot of times we're the bridge between that manufacturer that's worried because it needs to either be by this certain spec, or the reason we did this is because of these conditions that this side may not necessarily think of, right? So the manufacturer has knowledge and experience on why they're doing certain things, but sometimes the other side's concerned more about cost, more about this and that, and they don't think about all those details. So we'll hold that middle ground and say, why were we doing it this way? We did it this way because of X. Oh, okay, interesting. Why do you want to accomplish it Y way? Okay, here's what we think in the middle that makes everyone involved in this. And whether that's through custom programming, or maybe making sure that we can order the screws faster, or make sure that when a procurement offer is put out, that their system's better for the team to be able to vet through everything. We sit in that middle to really solve those gaps.
Gotcha. So let me ask you now, I'm going to bring it down from that sort of big high procurement volume dollar space and bring it down to Main Street. So let's say there's a small business, whatever, underwater basket weaving company, you know what I mean? Yeah. Whatever. And they want to teach underwater basket weaving, right, to other people. So they really have a lot of things happening. They have to have the dive certifications. They have to have the basket weaving. There's a lot happening here. Yes, I've thought of this.
I was about to say, this feels oddly specific. Okay.
But now they have to come up with a way beyond Eventbrite, way beyond whatever, plug and play system they're using. They have to have a system put in place that, let's call it a POS for argument's sake, that allows them to, take this information in and work with it. But now they have, maybe they need to have very specific underwater software or underwater hardware, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And they only have a budget of 30 grand. Are we
Yeah.
calling you guys for that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So those are also some of the fun things, because we work, and we tell our clients, we work within the budget that you give us. And if it's not possible, we're going to be upfront, and that's at no cost to learn. Hey, here's what you need to be for this. But we don't necessarily always have to look at custom, right? There's sometimes something that got you 80% of the way, and you're like, if I just had this last 20%, I would be able to accomplish everything. Well, we have a lot of great relationships with a lot of different companies in random segments. So we'd have no problem reaching out to that company and saying, hey, your one-off client has this one-off need that you're probably never going to see again because it's so odd. But will you allow us to do an integration with your system? Will you open up some APIs for us? Or can we do this collaboratively so that we can serve this client together? We don't want them moving off your platform, but they just need to add X, Y, and Z. And we've had a ton of success with that approach as well. Going to random companies and saying, this person loves your product, they don't want to leave, but they need it to do this. We don't expect you to take it on internally because it's so special and niche. So let's partner on this. You get to keep the client, we get to do the integration, and the client gets to win collectively, because now they're with you, they're with us, we all made money, and this is how we foster this ecosystem. And usually that then they say, hey, our sales rep got this and our system couldn't do Y, and can you do the same thing we did for that client? Right. And it just becomes now look, now I'm working with all these clients that I'm like, oh, I would have never had access to these random one-off clients, but because I did that initial ask, taking off the burden from you to always have to innovate and delivered, we're taking that off of them. So sometimes it's just the integration and delivery side to be able to serve those basket weaving clients that don't have that much money, because they still matter in the pipeline.
Right. They do matter. And I appreciate that. And I think there's a misconception. A lot of people think if you're working with large casinos, you're an unapproachable company. Yeah. And I would love to see that change for a lot of people, because the truth is there are a lot of unapproachable companies.
Yes.
Some people are not going to, I don't know, I'm not going to drop names, but we know there are some companies out there that are never going to take the mom and pop shop who just built their business off of the kitchen table. Yeah. Because they have a multi-billion-dollar client.
Yeah. And we always tell people we want to bet on you. We're still that company in many ways for other large enterprises where it's like, they're taking a bet on us, right? Yeah. Regardless of, until we hit that almost $1 trillion valuation, like some of these larger firms, we're always going to be the smaller organization, and they're taking a bet on us. Who are we not to take a bet on you and say, you know what, you could be the next huge thing? I would have never said pickleball would be. So maybe underwater basket weaving is the next hot trend, right? Yeah. I don't know. I'm terrible with investments. So don't ask me, what do you think is going to be the best here? I'm going to be wrong. I know I am.
Well, at least you're honest, right? And that's all we could ask for. So, the other thought I would ask you, again, for the small business community, because at this point you are a government contractor, right? You are doing government contract work. You're also working in procurement in the large corporate sector, Fortune 500 groups. Yeah. So, and there's a lot of small businesses that want to be in that space. They don't know how to be in that space. So their best angle of approach is subcontracting, right? Yeah. So do you guys offer subcontracting opportunities to small businesses?
We always want to look at it as, what can we do together, right? We do have a lot of internal staff as we continue to grow. So there's not a lot of needs in certain areas, but there are needs in others, right? So for instance, cybersecurity, as that continues to tick off, we're going to need a lot more incredible professionals. But those incredible professionals, as they continue to get certs and everything, they come at a way higher dollar sign. And maybe the contract is not that huge, right? Mm-hmm. So that's perfect. Okay, you have the people that are this certified, that have this knowledge in XYZ system or XYZ pen testing. Like, we want to collaborate with you. So I always tell people, I may not have something for you today, but get to know us, let's know each other. Because as soon as that contract hits my desk, I'm scrambling to find people, make sure my team has the certs. If I have a list and I know you're there, you're the first person I'm calling, especially if we have a great relationship together. You're the first one. Hey, I'm in this segment. Hey, I'm doing HR here. Hey, I'm doing this and that. do you know anything about it? Do you know Kronos? Do you know this system? Do you know that system? Do you know the laws here? Sometimes it's just like, what's the laws in Michigan? Like, can I do this?
Yeah.
So sometimes it's just like you're physically there. We're doing an installation in Colorado. I'm not in Colorado. You have a team in Colorado. Can you do that for me? So I always say, regardless of their size, building those, hey, I'm here. You may not need me today's, but just so you know me in the future, and I constantly check in, once a quarter, every few months, wishing you the best. That's how you do it.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I mean, opportunities, collaboration. What's the downside to what you do?
Downside is, like you said, it's tough to know what we do, right? It's where we can serve every type of industry. We serve all sizes of clients. It's a long sales cycle. Because you're trying to get so many parties involved, trying to get people physically out there. It's expensive up front. That's one of our biggest issues, is that every quote is expensive. If we're going to New Mexico to look at a property for a robotic integration and installation, it costs a lot of money to get us out there just to get that person the quote and understand the niches and needs. Because you can do like a little Zoom walk around, but it's not the same when you physically look and like, so this place is all stairs and robots can't take the stairs yet. That didn't show in the Zoom. We have a problem here. So sometimes it just does need that physical. So between the education, the fact that New Jersey is not the most technical state, where you don't have a ton of other tech companies, that actually hurts us in a lot of ways, that are making a lot of noise. Because if more people know that, Android and iOS, and Android has these apps and iOS has that apps, and that competition is there, more people are looking now for those services. More people are aware. They're shopping around. We're getting more cold leads, and they're saying, hey, we're also looking at XYZ company. So that's a little difficult too. We want people to make more noise. We want so that this industry rises together. And Billy's been doing a great job with like the startup culture. New York's been doing that. But New Jersey, we're still trying to foster that.
Yeah, well, I mean, my take is if you can make it in New Jersey, you've made it in the hardest state in the union to make it, and everywhere else going to be easier. And that's my perspective. I mean, it's argumentative with New York, but it's more New York as a competitor set, not the overall environment, from federal, state level down to the street. I feel like New Jersey is the hardest state in the union to really compete in, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, it's tough, especially when some of the companies are so large. They have already predetermined that we're doing everything in-house, and we don't need you, because there was never that industry stood up here. Whereas when you go to Philly or New York or other very large metropolitan areas, it's not even a second guess. Like, who are we using for our audits? Obviously EY, obviously PwC. It's not even a question. Whereas over here, it's like, that's a good question. Who are we using?
Yeah. So what would you say, and we're going to wrap this up shortly. What would you say is a good piece of advice that you can give, let's say a startup, since you dropped the startup word? What's something you could give us? Because I mean, technically you're in year 5.
Yeah.
So you're just coming out of basically your startup levels.
Fight like hell. Truthfully, it is one of those fight like hell, and don't be afraid to lean on others, because this is a battle. This is an uphill battle, especially if you don't have, and maybe if you do even have, like a ton of financial backing. It's a tough market. So it's a lot out there. The market's gonna vary based off political. It's gonna off of climate, off of the timing of the year. We're in Q4 now, and I'm already getting told by people I can't meet with you until January. I'm like,
what, the election?
Well, no, they were like, well, the election, and then we have this holiday, then it's Thanksgiving, and then I'm going, and you're like, you just lost 2 months. Huh?
Yeah, I know. Oh my God, yeah. Right. It's like I couldn't tell you how many people are like, we're not going to make any decisions to after the election, and I'm like, the world didn't stop.
Yeah.
Nobody's not making money during this election period. Why are you going to wait till after the election? And then what are you going to do? You're going to wait till after January 6th or whatever the inauguration date is, and you got to what's the next wait? Like when your competitors are going to eat you up, and then there's your competitor problem, right?
Yeah. And it's scary because you're like, okay, if everyone's pushing it back, you have to stomach that it's Q4 or Q3 or whatever quarter, and my deals are already getting pushed out to the future, and I'm still staffing and I'm still doing all this other stuff, and there's still growth here. So it's a lot to stomach some days.
So does that open you up? Like, and again, I don't want to put you in this, I don't want to shoehorn you in a space, because again, when you have big corporate sort of operations and you have other clients that are sort of in this big pool, right, and they're getting pushed off, does that open you up to smaller opportunities? Is it a faster movement, short term, like, hey, 30-day gigs or consulting? Like, what are you doing to fill that gap as a professional?
Yeah. So it's going back to our network and saying, hey, who do you know? It really, that's what our last strategy has been. Is like, okay, maybe we will focus on the smaller, but it really depends. I feel like, especially this year, we've had like this very nervousness to spend money. It's been a very tight year. So this year in particular has been even tight for really small, the mediums, the enterprises. Everyone's a little afraid to pull the trigger on any action. So for us, anytime I go back to my roots and I say, okay, well, you know what? Let me get together the top 10 smartest people I know. And I'm going to get us all on a Zoom call. And I'm just going to say, what are you going through? I just did a roundtable with some other IT organizations. And I'm like, what are you going through? What are you seeing? What's your SDRs happening here? And just doing that reevaluation and then going back to the team and saying, hey, realistically, here's what we're looking at. Maybe instead of focusing on external clients, maybe we look at the partnership routes. Maybe we look at trying to build more integrations. So that's what we did recently. We said, okay, there's all these great companies here that we see there's a small gap in it. Let me try to reach out to the CEO, the CTO, and see, hey, is there any gaps we can pay for to help with that integration, but then resell to your clients as a solution that may be really niche and really small, but it's in our wheelhouse and something that your clients, that we know they've been asking for. Sometimes they say yes, sometimes they say no, but those are still the paths to revenue that we look at, where it's like, okay, this may not materialize right now, but at least I'm doing something. I'm not sitting still. That's one of the things that really we work hard to do, is fail fast and be quick with it. Because if something's going to linger, we're going to die.
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, listen, I'm sure, like, one more maybe example, and I keep coming up with questions. I know I said we were going to cut this soon, but you keep bringing up a question. So give another example. I want to go down the road of like sort of that small business space, that budget, 30 to let's say $100,000 budget. Somebody wants to build an app and this and that. Now, I ran into somebody one time and I said, I have this really great idea for an app, yada, yada, yada. Yeah. And I was like, I want to make this app. Yes. And they're like, no, this is going to be trash. Like your idea is already here. Look.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And there's a lot of people out there that do have good ideas. I just happen to have a shitty one at that moment. Right.
Yeah.
Don't hold me to that any other time. But when somebody comes along to you and you're like, yeah, we can get this done, this is something, and they're like, oh, can you get it done in 30 days? We know how that works.
Yeah.
Right. What happens with you guys? I mean, like, how are you handling guiding that client away from with their budget, looking at their budget, and then guiding them in the right path? And I don't want you to get too crazy on the minutia here, but, like, how do you help those small businesses along? Because that's another mistake, right? Small businesses have a good idea. And maybe you do this. I'm not saying you do, but you're the guy that collects the money and you let them have their bad idea. I don't know. But there's a lot of people out there that do that. Yeah. And, we don't want that to happen to small businesses. So I know you don't do that. But tell people how you handle when they're stuck on their dream and they're making a mistake.
That one's always the toughest for us internally, because we want to see them be successful, and we're excited for their vision alongside with them because we feel like we're a partner in this. But there are those heartbreaking moments where you say, look, here's the truth of it, and here's the reality of the roadmap, the timelines, the cost. We had some people that have come up with financial ideas, and they're like, are you in the finance industry? And they're like, no. We're like, ooh, okay. And one thing that we did is we had a partner that built I think it was like Chase or Capital One app in the finance segment. And we said, you know what, here, we're going to actually link you to our partner. And we told the partner, look, this will be a collaborative project, just talk with them. So that way it can help them. They spoke with them, and then they came back to us and like, yeah, we're not ready. Like, we're just not ready. So we try to have those realistic data-driven conversations and take it away from the emotional and put it back to, here's the facts of what you need to do. Here's people that have actually done it. If we have that in our network, we want to connect you with that. And now it's your decision. Now you know what it's going to take. Are you all in? Are you unsure still? Do you want to take some more time to think about it? And a lot of times they have this like aha moment that said, yeah, I'm not ready for this. I didn't know it took that much to stand up. I didn't know I had all these regulations against me, or I had to do X, Y, and Z. So a lot of times we get those excited people, and not that we kill their idea, but we,
you level set them.
We bring it back, and we use data and facts and never opinions. Our team is trained, never say, I believe this is the way. If you're going to give this client any type of advice as a consultant, right, it needs to be some facts, some data, something of substance that they can take away and say, you know what, Different told us this and gave us these statutes and this documentation, and that changed us forever because it changed what we were doing and how we were doing it. We don't want to just be the no thanks. Why? Like, well,
but you also don't want to be the $1,500 website builder.
Yeah, we also.
So what happens when you have somebody comes along and asks you to do that? Do you redirect them somewhere? Like,
try to. Like that's where some of those subcontracting, we have this agreement with a lot of our subcontractors that we would call subcontractors, we don't want any commission. We want nothing. I don't want a kickback. All I want you to do is take care of this person, because then when they do move up and they can't afford us, there's a possibility that said, these guys were awesome and introed us. And these guys who were great and helped us with this, and hopefully we can find a middle ground where they're still using you for XYZ services, but yet they feel like they graduated just a little more to now sit in our portfolio. And we hope that continues going down. When you grow, you then do the same thing. And we're creating this whole economy of companies that are able to service different levels of people's needs. That's exciting to me. That's not a downside for us. That's okay, great. We're able to pass this to someone I've met along my way when I was in their position. So now it's cool. I can give it to you. Here's your first big lead, because we've all had those people where like we're getting our leads from this huge company, or this guy is super well connected, female is super well connected. Okay, perfect. It's your turn. Pass the torch and keep on growing.
So when this goes up, when I get this up, we're going to actually be at our event, ProcurementCon, and you're going to be there. Well, so people may not have a chance to meet you at ProcurementCon. So how are they getting in touch with you? If somebody says, I need something done by the end of the year, and this is the guy I want to talk to, how are they getting you? Are they going through some ridiculous online channel, or is there a simple email address? Where we contact?
We'll do simple email, or give me a phone call, 609-710-4909. Shoot me a text. We want to be as accessible. That's one of the cool things about being this small, is you have direct access to the CEO. How many other companies? We have one client, and I hope I love this client, but I hope I won't get too much. He calls me all the time at 1 o'clock in the morning with questions. All the time, 1 a.m.
Okay. I'm just going to put this disclaimer out there. That is not permission to call Sage at 1 o'clock in the morning.
If you're a large enough contract, I will embrace it. I will wake up at 1 a.m. and I'll be like, hello, what's going on? And it's never a problem. That's the funniest part. It's never that something's down, or it's just he had an idea.
Nice.
And he had to tell me now, and he hates email. And I'm just like, okay, cool. It's still 1 a.m.
Drop that phone number again.
So that's 609-710-4909. Call or text me. If I don't pick up, please leave a voicemail. Don't just not call, because we do get a lot of spam. We do get a lot of that. So please leave a voicemail. Say you saw me on this video, have something, have a question. We want to build this relationship and partnership together. I would give you my email, but it's
no. We'll put it in the description below, all your information to catch up with you. But here's what I'm gonna say, folks. Listen, it is the end of the year. There's, I don't know what, when this airs, like 6 weeks left in the year, 7 weeks left in the year. We know the holidays are coming. Do not put shit off just because of the holidays. The more you put that stuff off, the more it gets behind you. Call Sage if you have it. And again, I don't care if you're an underwater basket weaver. I don't care if you're working for Con Edison as a contractor. Whoever you are, if you have a question in Sage's space at Different Systems, in technology spaces, in AI spaces, web, etc., information, servers, I mean, the whole IT space, the whole AI space, and you want service and you need it now, because Sage isn't going to be telling you, hey, Thanksgiving's right around the corner, we can't start. He's not going to tell you that, oh, Sunday is my high holy day. He's not going to tell you that.
We're 365.
Yep, and I know that model because that's the way we operate. Yeah. So reach out to Sage, folks, and don't sleep on it, because again, when you wait for things to happen or you put things off, there's no holidays, there's no economies, there's no voting, there's none of that. It's you making an excuse. So don't make excuses to put stuff off. Speak to people, even if you have to put it off after you've had the conversation, because people like Sage are not going to rope you in to sign on the dotted line and take your check now. He would love to have your money now, but he's going to rather have your money when it's right for you, but give you the advice so you can make that informed decision and not be like, oh, I got to wait till my red sock turns blue before I decide to do this. Let's stop, folks. It's time to be serious. So, Sage, thank you for being here today.
Appreciate it.
And we're going to see you at ProcurementCon, and you'll be there. And we'll likely see you. We have 2 cybersecurity events planned for next year already. So you'll probably be there. And people
we're ready.
Yeah, we're ready. Good.
More sponsorships.
More on decks.
Hopefully bring more people that are in the audience watching this with us.
Yeah.
And more logos on the screen.
And folks, if you weren't at the cybersecurity event, Sage did this crazy demo where he took easy access AI that you and I can grab, and he made it do bad things. And when I say bad things, he made it do some malware stuff and made it a phone dialer and made it literally argue with him on the phone just so it could scam him. I mean, crazy stuff that is out there. He showed us how easy it is to be not secure.
Yeah.
So you're going to want to talk to this guy because he's the bomb, folks. Sage, again, thank you very much. We'll have
Always
the description in the below. And you have a great weekend. I'll see you next week.
See you at ProcurementCon.
Definitely. Stay on the line. We're going to chat in a minute. Sorry, folks. This is the secret stuff you can't see. We're out.